On Friday, June 6, 2008, the skies above the Wabash Valley opened up and it began to rain. It didn't stop for nearly 24 hours. By Saturday morning, 10 inches of rain had fallen. Rivers, creeks, and streams were overflowing. Roads were closed. People were stranded. It was the worst flood in nearly 100 years. More than 4,100 families in Vigo, Clay, Parke, Vermilion, and Sullivan counties were affected by the storms and flooding. All 5 counties were declared disaster zones by either the state or federal government.
By the time I got here from work, the water was already down at the end of the block. I couldn't even get to the house, and we pretty much lost everything.
My parents' house lived next door up on the hill, and got up there, and it probably wasn't 4 or 5 minutes later, a wall of water came through, about 25 foot high, and took out my home, took out all my vehicles. I mean, everything I owned was gone.
The day of the flood, the Red Cross, local EMAs, firefighters, police, and neighbors all pulled together to rescue the stranded, take people to safety, find medicine, first aid, fresh water, and food. Then, long-term recovery began.
After the first response to the flood happened, people were safe and secure. They were getting food and water. Then we came together to look and see how we can make a difference long-term.
In early July, United Way of the Wabash Valley and the Wabash Valley Community Foundation reached out to other local community organizations and faith-based groups to join forces to form the Wabash Valley Long-Term Disaster Recovery Coalition. The sooner a community begins the process of recovery, the sooner it starts to recover. Shortly after the birth of the Wabash Valley Long-Term Disaster Recovery Coalition, the United Way of the Wabash Valley received a $6 million grant from the 2008 Indiana Natural Disaster Fund. This fund was part of a $45 million grant from Lilly Endowment to the Indiana Association of United Ways. This enabled the recovery to take many forms. Case managers were hired to advise and assist victims. A construction component took place and stepped in where extensive repairs were needed beyond those covered by FEMA or insurance.
Debbie stopped by from the Coalition and had me fill out an application, and actually got me some appliances and new furniture, and then they talked about getting me a trailer place to live. And
a partnership between United Way of the Wabash Valley, the Wabash Valley Long-Term Disaster Recovery Coalition, and Indiana State University brought alternative spring break to the Wabash Valley in the spring of 2009. More than 65 college students from across the country gave up their spring break to help flood victims recover.
A team of college kids gave up their spring break. They came in here, and I was totally impressed with especially the girls. They were amazing. They come in here with with sledgehammers like they were Paul Bunyan.
The students tore down an entire house, rebuilt the interiors of 2 homes, helped organize and clean the Wabash Valley Disaster Recovery Coalition offices, and collected and managed video footage, photographs, and success stories of families affected by the floods. The participants were hosted by Indiana State University Center for Public Service and Community Engagement. Floodwater is a filthy, disease-spreading, debris-filled nightmare that invades every space, every nook and cranny. It shorts out electricity, ruins cars, water heaters, furnaces, and air conditioners. When the water is running strong, as it was the day in June 2008, it can tear down fences, toss furniture, and even end lives.
There were 4,169 families affected by the flood of June 7th, 2008. And out of those families, we've been able to help 100% of those who qualified and met our guidelines and criteria.
By all standards, the Wabash Valley's reaction to this natural disaster was exceptional. United Way agencies, community organizations, congregations of many faiths, and strangers came together to help clean up, rebuild, and prepare for the future. The $45 million grant from Lilly Endowment provided unprecedented resources to support the work statewide.
Out of all the families affected by the flood, we did damage assessments for 697 families. Of those families, 158 received new furniture. 80 families received new appliances. We relocated 3 families to higher ground out of floodplain areas. 25 families had homes destroyed, and we replaced those homes. There were 130 minor construction projects and 119 major construction projects. We helped 405 families with an average cost of $12,145.
If it wasn't for the Wabash Valley Disaster Coalition people, I wouldn't have a house to live in right now. And I'll always be grateful to them.
Yeah, I would like to thank the Disaster Relief Coalition for all their help, for getting me back on my feet. For sure, I would have never done it without them. And I thank United Way and Ely Lilly for their help also.
Even as floodwaters were tearing lives apart, destroying and scattering lifetimes of memories and hard work, the Wabash Valley came together to help their own.
The flood actually brought us closer together. I mean, when you have the adversity like that, you take what you got left, which was each other, and you go on.
People from across the country donated hundreds of hours of volunteer time in that effort, asking for no greater reward than providing helping hands, a friendly ear, or advice and counsel on how to move forward. And that is just what we have done here in the Wabash Valley: repaired lives and moved forward.